just wait until the clock here turns to 7. Do I have 7 on my phone? Yep, 7:01. I'd like to call this meeting of the Municipal Council to order at 7:01. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
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 See everyone. Just a couple of reminders for tonight before we jump into the public hearings. I just wanted to remind everybody that Jim Jones will be monitoring and granting access to those that join tonight that would like to address the council. If there is anything sent through the chat function, don't react or acknowledge it. Jim will be managing the messages to the council through that functionality in Zoom and asking individuals if they would like to address the council, whether for, against, or neither for nor against, and we'll let them in to address the council at that time in really no particular order. When we get to the health department public hearing this evening, which is the second one, we will ask the health department and staff to address the council first. So that said, Mr. Withers, would you kindly read the notice of the first public hearing this evening?
Yes, the first public hearing is relative to a loan order for $526,000 to remove and replace gymnasium floors at Hyman Fine and Hill Roberts Elementary Schools.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? I know Jim is working through the list of people. I can see the chat function going by. So Jim, if there's anybody on that wants to address the council with regard to the gym floors, now would be the time, but I'll keep going. And I do intend to leave this public hearing open unless Council Conti, you have a reason to close it, but we can then take it up on Thursday and close it then. So is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone neither for nor against? Anyone neither for nor against? Again, Council Conti, do you agree that we should at least keep it open till Thursday and we can continue to accept?
I see no harm, Mr. President, in waiting 2 more days.
Thank you. So again, we will continue to accept public input. You can send that to the city clerk with regard to the loan order for $526,000 for the gymnasium floors at Hyman Fine and Hill Roberts. And so we will keep that public hearing open until July 23rd. Mr. Withers, would you kindly read the notice of the next public hearing?
Yes, it's a public hearing relative to the proposed amendments to Section 7 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro regarding rubbish and recycling.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? I know the health department was joining, and I see Jessica just popped up onto the screen. So I will just give you a couple of seconds to get your bearings, Jessica. And I think Alan and Dr. Quinn are probably with you there. So with that, I'll ask, is there anyone to speak in favor and recognize the health department first, whoever wants to go first? And I just saw Alan pop in too, so. Alan, you're up.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
sorry,
you.
Mr. Cooper, I was having a little bit of a problem getting in. I was in and then out, so I apologize if I go out again, but I think I'm good.
Yep, I can hear you all right.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of what you were saying, so I wasn't sure how you wanted to proceed. Did you want me to begin, or did you have a question? Or
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Alan. I think it makes sense to just give an overview of the program and how you came up with the ordinance changes that you came up with, or that you presented to the mayor and the mayor sent to us, and then the council can ask any clarifying questions from there, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, sure. So what see before you is probably a little bit of an overhaul of that section of the city ordinances regarding collection of domestic solid waste. I think it was last amended in 2014, but because of the new programs and some of the commitments that the city must adhere to, we felt that this was really an appropriate time to address that family of ordinances. So what we did, sort of as an outline, was to present to you what we believed is an update of those ordinances that are really meant to streamline those section of ordinances, to streamline the program itself, and also help to improve the city's monies, if you will, in regards to the solid waste program, either by increasing revenue or by removing or reducing costs. In the ordinances that you see before you, I want to point out three sections of those ordinances in particular, if I could, Mr. President.
Sure.
So section 7.77.3 is a section regarding the new or would be an ordinance that would be solidifying the city's new trash cart program. Excuse me. Section 781A is the section regarding the new waste collection fees. And section 781B number 2 is the section regarding the bulk item part of the program. I point these three proposed ordinances out because what the health department is doing here is just solidifying what has already been approved by the city, either through contractual agreements with administration or by the set of the user rate and the budget with your council. Otherwise, all of the other proposed ordinance changes are, like I said, they're proposals that we felt should be presented at this time to help improve the cost to the city through the program. I don't know if you'd want me to go into details or you'd rather open up.
Alan, I think everybody has had a chance to review it, but I think it might be a good time to pause and just let the counselors that might have questions at this point just ask them. So I'll recognize, I think I saw Councilor Conti first and then Kobus.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alan, when was the last time that the waste contract was sent out to bid among potential vendors?
When was the last time it was sent out to bid?
Yes.
I don't have an exact. I'm sorry, Doctor. I'm sorry. I should have told you. Dr. Quinn is actually sitting here with me, so if he is using my device here, and he did want to say something.
Mr. Conti, I think it was the time before the last. So if this has been a 5-year contract that Jeff got up, I recall us looking at other ABC vendors and others. It came down to 2 vendors, and Waste Management was clearly the superior offer.
So we had them on a 5-year contract, were renewable 5 years?
So I recall that as probably 10 years ago, because I think that was a 4 or 5 year contract. And then, of course, this one was the 5-year that we all know about that just expired.
And so the current contract expires when, Doctor?
Oh, didn't we just start the new one?
Yeah,
Started the new one.
Council, yeah, we just started this new contract on July 1st, 2020. It will expire June 2025.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Mr. President.
You're welcome. Council Cobus. And then did I see Council Jackson? Did you have a question? Kate? Okay.
All right.
Council Cobus.
Thank you. And Alan, thanks for joining. I do have a number of questions. We'll start with the first one, and that's, I understand that the council doesn't have to approve this contract, that the administration and you went through and approved this contract, and it's exempt from, was it Mass General Law 30B legislative reviews. But I do have a question. So if the council doesn't approve these changes to the ordinances that are sort of required as part of that contract, do you have an understanding of what happens then from a process point? Where does that leave us?
So as the first part of your question, Counselor, the health department is not part of approving the contract. The health department does not have that authority.
Okay.
The administration has that authority. The health department, along with administration, was involved with the negotiations of the contract with the hauler, but we don't have any authority to sign that contract. So as far as the next part of your question, I think you're asking if council does not agree to, are you asking if council does not agree to the commitments that the city's already made? Could that be a risk? Is that what you're saying?
Or what would happen?
I don't know. I mean, I only as a layperson, I can tell you that there would probably be an issue, but I probably would have to refer you to the city solicitor and administration on that. The logic tells me we would have to honor the contract.
I can help you, Alan. I can help you. So what would happen is it would affect the rate, right? And it would affect, if we did not, say we said $20 for a bulk item, for example, just by way of example, and it's 29 in the contract, and 29 is what they use to establish the rate, and 29 is what is in the contract, and we say it's 20, somebody's making up the $9 somewhere is the short answer. So the contract is the contract. It's been executed. It was executed in February at 1.5 million and 88 a ton, and then 90 a ton for fiscal year 21. So that's already done. And so we'd be back to the drawing board with regard to the rate, the trash rate.
All right. Next one, and forgive me, I do have a few questions here. How often are fines for trash violations sent out? What is the breakdown of recent violations? How many people are at the top tier, that $200 tier, for those violations? And yeah, and then just generally, how much money roughly comes in from trash fines? Is this something that happens all the time?
So basically to give you a little bit of what we do here with the trash program, first and foremost, the intention is not to collect fines. So when we have an individual or a property owner who is not in compliance with either the ordinances or in some cases ordinances that cross over with state laws, the violator, if you will, is given a warning. The first part of our program is always to educate that individual. So a typical person who makes a mistake, at least part of the program type of mistake, is given a warning and there are no fines issued. A second offense then requires the fine. Currently, those fines are at about $25 for an offense. When you talk about the $100, $200, $300, that's what's being proposed. So if you, first of all, receive a fine, it has come, you basically committed the same violation more than once. If you get to the point where you are now receiving the third fine, or in the proposal, a $300 fine, you are an habitual abuser of the system, if that makes sense to you.
Okay. But you didn't answer, how much money roughly are you collecting each year in these fines? How prevalent is this?
It varies from year to year. We have levied a little over $4,500 in fine last year, and that's at a rate of $25 a fine.
Okay. All right. And a number of questions here. By removing the line, this ordinance may be enforced by the health department, building inspector, or police department from 7-7.8. Who is now allowed to fine individuals for trash violations? And note that I do feel that this is the right thing to do, but I want to confirm.
I'm sorry. Can you say which ordinance you're talking about again?
In 7-7.8, the line was removed. This ordinance may be enforced by the health department, building inspector, or police department.
Yeah, so so it would be the health department that would be the enforcer of that section of the fines under that set family of ordinances. It would be the health department.
Okay.
Police haven't done it.
And then
building, and the reason why that is that building and police don't typically. There may have been a time way back when that maybe they would have been in the enforcement end of that. They have building department and police department, as far as I know, would not be part of the trash program itself.
right, but my understanding is it's all been removed, so it's now at the discretion of the administration as far as who administers.
This family of ordinances that city council would have originally adopted way back when, I don't know when, is a group of ordinances that is under section 7, which is the authority of the health department.
Got it. Then in section 7-8, why do we include the solid waste collection rate in the ordinance? And we don't include the water or wastewater rates in the ordinance book. Why do we include the trash rate? Having this rate in the ordinance and approved as part of the budget process has caused a little bit of confusion. I've received a number of phone calls, and I feel we should remove it. Do you see any issues with removing the actual rate from the ordinance book?
In your family of ordinances, you give abatements to that user rate. If you go to, excuse me here, section, Jessica, I think you're on the line. I don't know if you see, there's a section of ordinance.
It's 786, Alan.
I'm
786.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you give exemptions to the user rate, and you refer back to that user rate in determining if people qualify for an abatement. To your question, I don't know if you have to put that in there. Historically, you've done it that way.
Okay.
Thank you, President Cooper.
So we now have the proposed $29 fee for bulk item pickups, and the FAQ specifies that after September 30th, 2020, folks need to call Waste Management to schedule a pickup. How do residents pay for the bulk item pickup? Do we pay Waste Management directly? Do we provide a credit card over the phone? How does that payment work?
Yeah, the user would pay Waste Management directly. It typically would be done with the user using a credit card over the phone. If there is a resident who cannot do it that way, the city itself, the health department, could work with that resident under section 783 of the ordinances.
Okay. Speaking of 783, you mentioned a sticker costing $30 for residents that don't participate in the rubbish /recycling program, but don't specify what the sticker is for. It is assumed what the sticker is. We can assume what the sticker is for, but at no point in 783 does it specify what that sticker is actually used for. Was that technical? Is that something we should look at?
783 section A says refer to section C below.
Yep.
So the intention there, and I apologize if it's not 100% clear, I think it is, but 783 tells you what you can bring to the city's drop-off site, and it refers you to section C below, composting, hazardous, and recycling waste. And that's where it tells you need a $30 vehicular sticker
Right.
fee.
And you just mentioned the drop-off site, but it never says the drop-off site. It just talks about the use of the facilities without specifying what those facilities are. We can look at that.
Well, okay, we can look at that. If there is something missing there, I think there's something there about the first Saturday of April through November, at a site specified by the health department. We could, to your point, we could maybe say it's there. It's typically there. We could do that, or you could do that.
All right. You removed the fees for the hazardous waste drop-off in the changes there. And so is it free to drop off oil and propane tanks at the compost and hazardous waste center, provided non-participants pay the $30 sticker fee? Is that free?
It's part of your $30 sticker fee.
Okay, which is free for participants in the program, correct?
There's no extra charge other than the $30 sticker fee. And then people who participate in the program who would have a vehicular sticker would not pay for the sticker at all. That would be part of the user rate.
Okay. And then the last question that we've talked about this through email, but I've had a number of residents talk to me about, can we allow the pickup of a bulk item that weighs less than 50 pounds, which is the max weight allowed in an Attleboro trash bag, by tying a trash bag to the item and putting the item out for pickup? And so this would be sort of, if somebody had some brooms or whatever, instead of having somebody try to break those apart or cut them up and fit them in a bag, we could just tie a bag to it, so it would just be $2 instead of the $30 bulk or the $29 bulk item cost. Would Waste Management allow this, and have we asked them specifically about that?
I don't see that as part of the contractual agreement. I don't think I have a 100% answer on that. I think that the general rule of thumb is that a loose bulk item or a bulk item is an item that cannot easily fit in the provided trash cart or the approved Attleboro bag. It does not mean that you can't try to do something differently, but I believe Waste Management would have to be brought in on that. But that's not
on it? Can we ask Waste Management?
We can ask Waste Management, but I believe that would have to be a negotiation with administration, is my belief. Would not be part of the ordinance here tonight proposal.
I have a
So I can't really answer that. I think that's a negotiation with that. It would have to go back to administration.
ask the question again, Todd, so it's clear to me what you're trying to get at.
So if there's a bulk item that weighs less than 50 pounds, but say like a lawn chair or a broom or something, I've had residents ask if they could just tie one of the Attleboro trash bags to that item and put it out, provided it weighs less than the 50-pound limit that's allowed inside the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Could we do that so that it would only be $2 as opposed to the $29 bulk item pickup, to dispose of those types of items?
Okay, I got it.
And if we can get that answer from Waste Management, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, we could forward that to Waste Management. As far as the structure, that I know that there is not a placement for that as of right now, but we could. Sure, it's not going to hurt to ask them if that could be done, but I would be troubled if the ordinances were to be held up over this. At least the ordinances we have before you.
Okay, I understand that concern, and that concludes my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council Jackson, did you have some questions? Did I see your hand
I'm
up?
all set. Thank you.
Okay, Alan, I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
In the contract, Exhibit B, is the tipping fee, is that what you refer to as per ton?
I'm sorry, we're to the contract, we're the contract itself, sir?
Yeah, so Exhibit B of the contract has a tipping fee which aligned to, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing.
Okay, I'm just pulling out my copy of the contract.
Midway through the contract, Alan. I'm just trying to understand the different fees because over the course of 5 years, the residential curbside collection fee takes a pretty substantial jump of about $1.1 million. That's one sort of comment, nothing we can, it's not within the council's purview, although we should be aware of that $1.1 million jump over 5 years. That's going to have I'm sure it's going to have a substantial impact to the rate. $1 million change over 5 years, about $200,000 a year.
Yes, you are reading that correctly.
Okay. Thank you for that. What's our average tonnage, say, over the last 3 years? Has it been relatively stable, and what's that number? If you have it handy, if you don't, you can send it to us by email. I totally understand.
I don't have the exact number in front of me. Jess maybe might be able to pull that off, but the general number will be that we're around the 10,000 ton per year mark for trash, and roughly 4,000 to about 4,500 tons per year for recycling. That's a general figure. I'm sorry, I can't give you the exact number, but
no, that's totally fine. I just was, and then so the 4,500 ton of recyclables is charged the $90 recycling processing fee, and then the solid waste tipping fee is the 10,000 per year. I'm just trying to figure out what's in that 1.5 million if they're getting $80 a ton. I'm just trying to understand that.
The $1.5 million is just the luxury of having the hauler come and collect the waste. It has nothing to do with the disposal.
Okay.
It's my understanding that at one time the city had a separate contract for curbside collection and a separate contract with a different hauler for disposal. And it clearly is my understanding prior to my time here and now that it is a cost savings, even though costs are escalating, as you've mentioned. It's a cost savings to have the same hauler do both. And it's also my understanding that there were troubles with the former disposal site that the city used to use. That was before my time, so I'm telling you that secondhand. So that 1.5 million is to pick up based on approximately 14,200 and so homes or units in the city.
Okay. All right. I don't have any additional questions, but I saw Councilor Waterman, Councilor DeSimone, and then Councilor Dolan.
Yes, Alan. I believe we had a nice conversation a week or two ago, but a question that came up in my mind is there a limit to how many Attleboro bags one can put out next to the container that is full? There
is no limit. If it's an Attleboro trash bag, it's unlimited.
Unlimited. And do they necessarily have to be tied to the container?
No, you wouldn't want it tied to the container because the container, of course, is going to be picked up by the arm of the new truck. So you'd want that totally separate from the bag. The bag will still be picked up manually by a laborer.
That answers my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, President Cooper. Mr. Perry, I just have a couple of questions, if I may. In regard to the fines, I'm curious as to how those are collected and what will happen if someone does not pay.
So fines are collected by a letter, but well, I should say they're introduced to the violator by a letter. The letter typically will state the date, the time, what the infraction was. That's delivered to the address. Then the violator is also allowed to appeal that. They can either appeal it with Dr. Quinn as the head of the department, or they can appeal it in the appropriate court of law. If they don't, there's a certain time, usually about 21 days, that the city would expect payment for that fine, the violation of the fine violation. If they do not pay the fine or appeal the fine, then the city has to take that violator to court.
Okay, and then if they don't pay, does it become a lien, or what happens to the debt?
No, that is not that type of a fine. It would become, basically, it would go in, if it's not paid at that point, then it goes into the court's hands. It's out of the city's hands.
Okay. All right. My next question, and this may be an obvious one, but just for the sake of clarity, 7-8.1A sets the rate at $234.12
per year for residential dwellings of 1 through 8 units.
You're muted, Kathleen. You're muted.
Sorry, Mr. Perry. In regard to 7-8.1A, is that fee in a multifamily unit? Is that fee for each unit $234.12?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Two more questions, if I may. 7-8.1B. One, you reference unlimited domestic recyclables. Isn't it in fact limited by the cart? Or are you implying that someone could perhaps more than one cart for recyclables?
Yes, that's correct. Recyclables are unlimited, at least at this point in the program. And we do actually have residents who do request more than one cart.
Okay, all right, thank you. And last question, in regard to 7.81B3, this may be a drafting issue. It says unlimited metal items, comma, not including televisions, parentheses, e.g. appliances and electronic. But on the next page, you, under section D, appliances are charged $35. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean electronics are unlimited or they're not unlimited?
The $35 charge is for a resident who is not on the city's program. They're not paying a user rate. If you're paying a user rate, it's unlimited.
Okay, I would suggest perhaps that may not be as clear as it could be.
Okay, but I think if you go back to 7.8-3, it kind of sets out who would pay the $35 fee.
Okay.
Mobile home parks, residential complexes of 9 or more units, they fall under that section 7.8-3.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so just so I'm clear on that, Alan. So if I'm in a mobile home park or 9 or more unit, and I want to discard an appliance, I pay $35. But if I'm a residential dwelling of 1 or 8 and I put an appliance out, I don't pay for that. Just to be brutally clear.
That's absolutely clear.
Okay,
again,
I'm clear on it now. Then
user rate, you don't pay any extra.
Got it. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. Hi, Alan. So the question I have is on the fines on 7-7.8 that we changed for each offense. So that's not dictated by the waste management contract, correct?
That's correct. This is actually dictated by you folks. It's how you feel about that. This is a proposal. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the waste management contract.
Okay. How are we letting residents know regarding like all these changes? Are we sending like a massive like mail out to let every resident know, like exactly what the changes are and, when they start taking place, et cetera?
Yeah, every year we produce a brochure that
Mhm.
goes out usually with a tax bill or some other type of a mass mailing. That will happen, but we don't feel we can do that until this ordinance issue is settled.
Right,
So but typically we would have had that out.
which makes sense. And as far as, and forgive me, we have a person that goes around the city and checks recycling bins. Please tell me the title, what their title is.
Yeah, that's a waste reduction enforcement coordinator. And that is another thing that is sort of separate of this. It's separate of the waste management. It's a person who is paid through grant money from the DEP. And yeah, that person is there with that grant money from the DEP to try to ensure compliance with the recycling program.
And is that the only source that we have when issuing fines? Is that person, or like we don't have anybody else in the city that drives around looking for repeat offenders or whatever, or do we, that I'm not aware of?
No, that's a big part of it, but a lot of what we do, separate of those programs, is complaint generated.
Okay.
So, for example, if a person lives on, let's say, Main Street, and they complain about their neighbor, we have to respond.
Right.
So sometimes those fines will be issued by either myself or Jessica, who's on the line tonight, our solid waste administrator. Because we could not ignore a complaint, and then if we see it, then we have to follow through.
Right. And so regarding the fine, so anything that's in this ordinance that isn't dictated by the contract, we can amend if we agree on something specific as a council.
Yes, that's correct. With the exception of the 3 ordinance recommend changes, yeah, this is really at your pleasure. What you feel you can approve it as is, you can alter it, a hybrid. Again, this is a best type of a proposal that we felt we could give you based on our knowledge about how we felt we could, improve the program for the city, particularly financially.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Laura, just to your previous question, in the contract terms, number 3, letter E, if the contractor can't empty the container because it doesn't meet the specification, they put the wrong thing in the container and they notice that, they notify the city, and it's up to the city to remedy the situation.
Thank you.
And I would say, in addition to the complaints that you might get, there is that language in the
Right, and it's some kind of like what they do now, when if something's wrong, they put a sticker on and then they notify the city, like, this person, if it's not a sticker, they didn't have their trash out, that's why we didn't come pick it up, or whatever the case may be, if they didn't have it out on time. Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions for Mr. Perry at this time?
I do.
Council Holmes.
Thank you. So thank you for joining us. I know this was a lot. This was a lot of changes here. So I know you had mentioned ABC had been looked into in the past for vendors. During this cycle, was anybody else approached to get a quote?
What happened this past year is that there was, in our opinion, because of what was happening to other communities, and because we needed a large vendor, and because our vendor did not abandon us like other vendors did to other communities, particularly in southeastern Massachusetts, we felt that we would take a bad risk if we went with one of the others, that there was that potential. When recycling hit the fan, if you will, in the whole China deal, communities similar, sister communities that we have here in southeastern Mass, were actually abandoned by their hauler. We were not, and we felt that really meant something, that Attleboro was getting its trash and its recycling picked up, and we had no breach in service, and other big vendors were not doing the same. So if that can answer your question, we felt we had to stick with what we knew.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. But 5 years ago, we did get more than one company to just let us know. It sounds like it was
I think Dr. Quinn said 10 years ago.
All right, so 10 years ago, ABC, and then we ended up going with Waste Management.
Yes, yeah, that would be before my time here. Yes.
Okay. But this time around, we just didn't even want to see what was available out there.
No, we did. We did see what was available. We went to the other big haulers. We went to other communities, and we saw what they were doing and the trouble that the other communities were dealing with that we were not, and we felt there was not a fair risk to the city.
Okay.
There's only a few vendors that can really handle the city of Attleboro. And those other vendors, other communities were complaining about those vendors, and they were coming to the city of Attleboro, this is of other communities, to see how they could get in with our vendor.
Okay, so it sounds like they're desirable.
Yes.
So in the past, and you said it may be before your time, does this typically happen that the contract is signed in February and then the ordinance is brought down significant months later?
No. What happened is, I should tell you that the contract was signed, I believe, in February, and the administration felt it was important, and we would probably agree, because going to a new program, the trash cart program, required that vendor to have a commitment from the city that they would have to heavily invest in machinery, trucks, and those carts. So they weren't going to do it if they didn't have a lead time to be able to meet, that deadline going into the next fiscal year. So that was the main reasoning for that. As far as the city ordinances, the ordinances really could not be brought to you really until the budget had been settled. Also, on top of COVID-19, there was just really no way around it when you added all that up.
All right, thank you.
I think just for the council, I just want to share one thing as soon as I find it. One would think the signature page is the last page, but it's not.
I'm sorry, are you back to the contract now?
I am. I just want to provide some assurance to the council through this contract. When Deb Gould signed it, she wrote a note on it, and I'm trying to look for it. I'll find it. That does not guarantee that appropriation was required. Oh, here it is. So when Deb signed this on February 25th, 2020, she wrote a note on here because it did say that through her signature was a certification that funds are available. Deb actually wrote a note on here that no certifications of funds at this time. All fiscal years require appropriation of funds, including fiscal year 2021. So the contract was signed, but there was no commitment really from the city, because Deb put a note on here saying the money has to be appropriated through the budget process, right on the contract.
For July 1.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Quinn. Yep.
I have, President Cooper, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So the city solicitor did review this as well? Okay.
Yes, the city solicitor will
Signed it.
sign that same page as the mayor, the city auditor, and waste management's president.
President Cooper?
Yes.
Yeah, so just getting back, expanding on Alan's answer on the 1.5 million, there was a time when the collection was done by Waste Management, and then it would either be brought to CMAS or, for burning, or to Worcester to dispose of in a landfill, or et cetera. So it wasn't until Waste Management started purchasing these end phase kind of companies that then you saw them handling both ends of it. So Alan's answer is correct, but that's why it used to be separate.
So when they're not sending it to CMAS anymore?
But they purchased, I'm not sure what town it's in, but they purchased the end phase handling of what happens to the trash they collect through that collection process so that they could handle the entire thing.
Okay, so they do end to end.
Yes.
Got it.
Cradle to grave.
Any additional questions for any members of the Health Department team? Councilor Blair.
I just got one, Mr. President. I don't know if this is the right time, but I haven't got many calls on the trash rate itself, but I have got a number of inquiries about our compost center, and that's part of the rate that our residents have use of that compost center, the ratepayers. Is there anything, Alan, in the pipeline to increase that number of hours down there?
I don't know when you received your last call or notification from a constituent, but we have expanded hours. The compost center is open Friday afternoons and from 9 to 3 on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay.
I think we're probably one of the only few communities in the state, certainly in the area, that have a facility like that open on a Sunday.
So there's nothing though for landscapers in town to use it during the week other than Friday afternoon for 3 hours. Am I correct?
Friday, as of right now, Friday afternoons, yeah, Saturdays and Sundays. The health department is heavily dependent on our senior program otherwise. And with the COVID-19 issue, we've had to, that's a separate issue that we've been dealing with. We hoped at some point that would be resolved and we could maybe open up that compost more. If council were to approve the sticker for all vehicles, then that would help deal with that issue.
What do you mean approve stickers for all vehicles?
Yeah, under we're proposing it, like we said, a $30 sticker fee for vehicles that are using the center and a free of charge vehicle sticker for everybody else that is paying the user rate.
Wouldn't commercial people going in there, landscapers that work in town, wouldn't that add to your revenue?
I don't think that's, no, the landscapers what we're proposing in the ordinances is that only landscapers serving Attleboro homeowners would be able to use the facility as part of that user rate. Out-of-town landscapers, which are allowed in under the existing ordinances, are actually costing the city money.
Okay. I'm not concerned about out of city landscape.
I'm sorry, I'm getting interference on I can't hear you, sir.
It's Jessica, I think. Jessica, I think you need to mute.
I'm not concerned about the out of town landscapers using the facilities, but our landscapers in town, and there's a lot of them, they work 5 days a week. So for them to only be able to get in on Friday afternoon for 3 hours, I'm sure they don't have roll-offs laying around that they can put this grass clippings in and whatnot all week long and wait till Friday to get down and dump it. I just think that I would hope that you would be able to expand those hours so those people could use it. And it does go back to the people they're servicing. I mean, it's Attleboro residents that they're servicing, and they should be able to get rid of their grass and clippings and and whatnot somewhat easy.
You're absolutely right, and that is our intention. But again, COVID-19 is hanging over our head with that issue. And during the week, that's where we have the senior program helping us man that center. And that's one of the issues that we're dealing with. And we're trying to resolve that.
Well, I'm glad you are. Thanks, Alan.
You're welcome.
Councillor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alan, how much intelligence do we have on the landscaping trade? One call that I got this week, a constituent was saying that where are the landscapers going to deposit their material if they can't get into the compost center? How much do we know about the landscape industry, and where is all that landscape material going currently?
So again, if you are a resident of the city and you're part of the program and you have user rate, your landscapers have access to that compost center.
So you're telling me that I hire a landscaper to mow my lawn, and my lawn is 6 acres, and they've got a big truck full of grass. Because I'm in Attleboro, they can go to the compost center and say, I just mowed Mr. Conti's lawn and I have a truck full of grass here. I want to deposit it. You let them in and deposit it for free.
The landscape, what we're doing right now is an emergency measure with COVID, but what the intention is also with and you'll see the proposed language in the ordinance. I believe it's section 710(1). Homeowners are given those landscaper tickets for free, no extra charge, and that homeowner can give those tickets to their landscaper. And the reason being is that we want to be assured that that waste is coming from a homeowner on the program in Adamo.
Okay, so let's get back to the rest of my question. Okay. What's the possibility that landscaping debris is being deposited illegally?
There's always a possibility that it's being deposited illegally, but it is our understanding that they are definitely finding other places to deposit that material. Those landscapers are going to other places. I'm sure for a fee, certainly probably a lot more money than what Attleboro is charging. And that brings us back to the bulk of the problem, is that Attleboro is losing money because of it.
Got it. Well, the finances of that compost center are subject to a very long debate. We're not going to get into that tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey, President Cooper.
Yes, Dr. Quinn.
So I've had Jess run some numbers. There was a question earlier by you or one of the other council members on tonnage.
Yep.
I have some numbers for the last 3 years.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you want those?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, fiscal year 2018, total tonnage trash, 9748.66.
Okay.
Fiscal year 2019, 9994.28.
Okay.
And June just came in today for FY 2020 for a total of 10418.85.
Okay, do we have?
That's a 4% increase, FY 19 to FY 20.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Quinn.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Questions for the health department team? Alan, Jessica, Dr. Quinn, you're more than welcome to stay on if there's any additional questions from the public as we get into the testimony or the comments from the public. Councilor Holmes can certainly circle back with you to get those answers. But you're obviously more than welcome to stay on if you want to do that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would welcome anyone that AACS has lined up to speak in favor can be added at this time and identify yourself for the record.
President Cooper, I have sent a chat message to each of the attendees. I have heard from 4 of the attendees so far, all in some varying degree of no. There are none that are for. So at this time, I will be recognizing Ann Kingman of 6 Musket Road.
Great. And Ms. Kingman, you, just to be clear, you're speaking in opposition to this matter at this time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. The floor is yours. Thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you. I am speaking primarily about the bulk item issue. And I'm speaking both as a homeowner at 6 Musket Road, and also my husband owns some industrial property at 81 West Street. I think the jump from 1 bulk item per week to now $29 per bulk item is too much for many of our residents, especially as one of the previous counselors mentioned, less expensive items that don't fit in Attleboro trash bags. So for instance, in my garage, I have a broken rake. At some point, my Swiffer is going to die. I'm going to need to dispose of that. Those can't easily be broken up and shoved into an Attleboro trash bag. I have disposed of an old car seat that was too old to be safely passed on to somebody else. Plastic children's toys, lawn chairs, etc. These are all things where the value themselves is lower than the $29 fee. It seems that since we can get stickers for $10 television disposals and unlimited appliance disposals, that the $29 fee is significantly out of line with those costs. And I would love to see us go to a sticker program where each person on the program would get a certain number of stickers. I think that would address the complaint about people out of town dumping bulk items in city trash pickup locations, whether that be 25 bulk items a year or 10 bulk items a year. I don't know what the average usage is right now, but I think there could probably be some sort of reasonable number. And then I'm very concerned about the dumping. As I said, my husband owns some industrial property at 81 West Street, which is the large parking lots that the city has in the past used for parking during the fireworks. And we've already had problems of dumping there, and this is going to just increase that. We'll see furniture, we'll see whatever people don't want to pay $29 for. It's a property that is pretty easily accessible because we have tenants who go in and out to work, and it will be a problem for sure, as well as I'm sure for other parts of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Kingman at this time from the council? Councilor Kobus.
Yes, hi. Mrs. Kingman, thanks for joining and speaking up. Earlier, I talked about potentially having a solution where you could take an Adamo trash bag and tie that onto whether it's a kid's car seat or whatnot, or the Swiffer. I understand that it's not free. It still costs $2, but would that be an acceptable solution in your view?
I think that would, something like that. Certainly tying to some things might not work. I'm thinking, again, right now, I believe if you have an old carpet, as long as you cut it up into 3-foot lengths, they'll take the whole bundle. So there are certain things like that that I think would be a little trickier to tie a plastic bag around, but I think some sort of solution like that would certainly be welcome and helpful.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Ms. Kingman? Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
My house, I didn't get a chance to call you back, but I did get your mess.
Well, that's why I'm here. Thank you.
I know, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, President Cooper, the next person to speak on the line is Karen Levesque, and she is from 61 Hope Street in Attleboro.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining. The floor is yours.
Hi. So I agree with Ann Kingman that we should kind of have a sticker system. because the jump from $0 to $29 is a lot. And having so many bulk items per month or per year would be a good idea. Two issues that haven't been addressed is that the mayor and the health department have raised the issue about people putting trash in the recycling bins. And I've noticed that a lot of comments from the residents, including myself, was that the trash can size is not big enough. Waste management offers a tote size that equal to the size of the recycling. Why aren't we switching to that as we're having a new contract? Because that would reduce the amount of unrecyclables going into the recycling bin. Also, what cities and towns did we compare for where recycling wasn't being picked up? Because not pricing or placing bids to other companies after 10 years is kind of, I don't think it's in the best interest of our residents that you guys didn't do your due diligence in making sure that we actually had the appropriate fees for a new contract.
So Karen, a couple of things we'll have to, you can follow to get some of the answers back. I don't have the answer on the size of the tote. I do know in the contract, I think I read that there was an option. There were two different options for totes, and some of it's related to price. I'm sure it's $100,000, over $100,000 a year to supply the totes per the contract. And I think we'll have to get some feedback from the administration on since it is clearly exempt from 30B. According to MGL Chapter 30B, Section 1B, this chapter shall not apply to number 30, a contract for the collections, transportation, receipt, processing, or disposal of solid waste, recyclable, or compostable materials. So the bottom line is they don't have to go out to bid according to MGL. Now, whether that's right or wrong that it didn't is a different topic. But I just wanted to be clear that it wasn't anything that they had to do that they didn't, if that makes sense.
Right. I just know that, prices of fries have gone up, prices of groceries have gone up. But then, prices change among companies. So it would have made sense for them to check prices of other companies to make sure that the best price was being presented to the city residents as we pay as we have to pay for the trash bill.
Any questions for Ms. Levesque at this time? All right, I don't see any, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, President Cooper, next on the line is Stephen Donovan of 1526 West Street. And let me grab him, and he has now activated.
Okay, Mr. Donovan, the floor is yours. You're muted. There you go. Mr. Donovan, are you there? Can you hear us okay? The floor is yours. Jim, maybe we should go to the next person and come back.
Yep, we'll do that. Okay, the next person in line is Stephen Hosmer of 164 Downing Drive.
Okay. Mr. Hosmer, the floor is yours.
Good evening. I've listened to everything that you guys have said, plus the other two people that were on. And I think one of the problems here is that because Waste Management wants to change the way they pick up the trash, meaning they're going to use the ARM system. It's not convenient for them anymore to pick up some of these smaller type items that other people are talking about. And pushing this $29 fee on everybody, I think is the, the wrong approach. I think that if they want to use that type of a system, that's fine, but I do think it should be a bigger container. So some of these smaller items that people are talking about that just aren't going to go into that container, the other small container works for them. And my other question is, does this mean the driver is going to get out every time he needs to pick up a bag? How is he going to get it back into the truck if he's got an ARM system? I don't follow that, how that's going to work. The other question I have is, as far as fines are concerned, I don't think it was specified as to whether or not somebody goes out on a day-to-day basis to check who is doing something or who is not. I mean, are they just randomly checking these trash bins, or are they just going out on complaints? The fact that you only had 180 people during the course of the year seems like a pretty small number to me. And lastly, as far as the landscapers are concerned, this is a big mistake. I've worked down there for the last 2 years, and the way it was handled in the past is that it was, for the landscapers, it was $12 per load for a single axle type vehicle, regardless of how high they could pack it up. They all use these big high boards and so forth to get as much in there as possible. If you go to this type of system that you're talking about, you're going to have landscapers from all over are going to come in there because they're going to dump for nothing. And the cost to the city to have somebody come in and grind up all of the brush and the logs and the grass and compost every year is phenomenal. And I think that, you've got to take a better look at this. A lot of places don't allow landscapers to come in anymore. And by doing this on an honor system, quite frankly, somebody could pick up, 2 or 3 spots in Attleboro, but picking up in Seekonk and Pawtucket and North Attleboro, nobody's going to question them. They're just going to come in and dump. So I think that they really need to look at all of this. That's all I got to say. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I muted myself. Sorry about that. Any questions for Mr. Hosmer at this time from the council?
I'd like to hear something from Alan Perry concerning the landscaper type situation.
Tonight's not a debate, Steve. So we will get some. We're keeping track of the questions, and we'll get a response from the health team on the questions and concerns, and we'll have additional discussion at the committee level about the concerns of the constituents at the public hearing.
One of the other questions to go along with what one of the other councilmen said, I do think that the landfill needs to open up at least one other day during the week. For instance, a Tuesday when the recycle center is open from 9 to 1, those same people, because they're not using the senior work-off program anymore, so those people that are working there from 9 to 1 could slide over to the compost center and allow people to come in there for the 3 hours from 12, because it's currently, or used to be, from 12:30 to 3:30. And that would, alleviate, some of the current problems that people are running up against right now, because you can only get in there on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
All right, any additional questions for Mr. Hosmer at this time? Steve, thanks for joining.
Okay.
Okay, President Cooper, we're going to connect back with Stephen Donovan.
Okay. Mr. Donovan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about the first time. Is this any better?
Yes.
lessons learned. First item, if you could go to section 773. Currently, the maximum weight of Attleboro bags is 25 pounds. I get the impression if I read this that the maximum weight of Attleboro bags is going up to 50 pounds. Do you concur?
That's what it says. Yep.
Okay, then my second question is, the existing bags that I still have that I've already purchased, does that mean I can use those bags for a 50-pound limit and I don't have to worry about them breaking?
Nobody said that.
I know that, but that's why I'd rather ask before I get them halfway out to the street.
Can I comment real quick?
Sure.
It's actually, what's in there now, I believe, is 75 pounds.
It's going down 25.
It's going down to 50. And I tried throwing 50 pounds into a bag, and there's absolutely no way it'll hold 50 pounds. But yeah, it's going down to 50 pounds. It wasn't at 25 before.
Okay, now the Attleboro bag was a 25. The trash can was 50. That's why I'm asking. So the Attleboro bag's going from 25 to 50. I think.
I think that's right. I'd have to grab the ordinance book to verify that, but I think that's right.
Okay, do you think I can run with that, or should I?
No, don't run yet.
Okay, I'll hang loose if you guys can check on it. Okay, thank you. Next question. If I get pizza boxes, I know there's been some literature out on pizza boxes are kind of difficult to clean up. So 70% of the time you might be able to get them into regular trash if they're clean. The other 25% they'll go into regular trash. So my question is, I just want a little bit of sanity check that if someone comes over and sees pizza cardboard in my regular trash, I'm not going to get any dinged for it because the cardboard's in the wrong trash area.
If it's clean cardboard, it goes in the recyclables. If it's dirty cardboard, it goes in from pizza oil, it goes in the trash.
And you're comfortable with that, and there should be no problem with that.
Do it a couple times a week at the Cooper's house.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, that's fine. 7.7.4. This is just a clarification. It's been quiet that I am making the assumption that anything with the triangles with numbers 1 through 9 on it, there's no changes, and those are the recycled items. So that like things like plastics and metal, many plastics and metal food cans are still recyclable. Is that true?
I think the clarity on what is and is not recyclable in the new program will come out in the announcement through the health department. It usually comes in the tax bill or the water bill every year.
I suppose my question is, you haven't seen anything that could be a change in the things with the recycle numbers in it, have you?
No. I'm feverishly looking for your answer on that. You've intrigued me on the 25 versus 50, so I'm looking in the ordinance book.
I'm looking
Well,
at
Alan or Jessica could jump in anytime.
I'm looking at the old ordinance in the 7-73. I think that's what you said.
Or 4.
Oh, okay. So 7-73 was 75 pounds for the trash barrel.
That's right.
And then 4, I don't think 4 doesn't say anything about the 7.7.4.
Yeah, I think it was silent on the weight of the bag. I don't see that in the existing.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well now in looking at it.
Yep, so it appears to me that the 50 pounds is new for the bags because the existing ordinance is silent on my quick look.
Yeah, I don't see anything from the old ordinance on the weight of the city bags.
Okay,
President Cooper, if I may, they reiterate that 50-pound number in 7-8.1B1, where they talk about unlimited domestic recyclables and one container, bag or barrel, maximum weight 50 pounds. Just
So
so you
both
know,
are 50. So both are now at 50.
Yeah, apparently so.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Mr. Donovan?
I've got a couple more after that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you have any words of wisdom on washing and preparing things for recyclables in specific?
No.
If you have a peanut butter jar, do you have any words of wisdom or use common sense?
So I would, tonight's not the night for those types of particulars. This is about the program itself, but I'll tell you what works pretty good in my house is the dog. Just saying.
I have a cat, the tongue's not that long.
I actually cut it. She loves it. And to your question on what is recyclable, 7-7.2 is not gives the current what can be recycled.
Okay, and there's no changes to that, it sounds like.
It doesn't appear that way.
Okay. Can we go to 7.8.1B.2 on the bulk item?
Okay.
7 point. Tell me the section number again. I'm sorry.
7.8.
Yeah.
1B as in Bravo.
Yeah. Got it. I'm with you.
Okay. On the bulk item, words of wisdom as to if I have a rug, I cut it into, I think, 3-foot lengths. And if that comes out to like 3 sections, I'm not gonna have 3 bulk items, am I?
That was a question that I think Ms. Kingman had, which I think we need to talk to the health department at the committee level and get the answer to that.
Okay, I'm getting close to the end. I think a couple of more items.
That's okay.
7.8.6. I have a house with 2 units, the way the recycle is being done. The second unit is not being rented, and I can put in the waiver for the second unit. I'm assuming there's no changes to that.
I don't know what that current section is, but if it's not listed here, it's not being changed. But we can get the answer to that.
Okay, I'm assuming that there's probably not, but thank you if you could. And the last thing I think of is the recycle location for things like dropping off cardboard. They have a place down there for some metal and fluorescent lamps. I'm assuming that's not going to change from my point of view. Is that true?
I think that's a safe assumption. I don't think it's moving from its current location.
Okay. And Ann Kingman and Karen Lebesque covered low-cost items for the $29 bulk item, and also things like rugs. So I would concur with her, especially being myself and my wife being above 65. That would be of great help to us. So please consider us in the same boat too.
Will do. Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Donovan? Thank you for joining tonight. Thank you.
Okay, President Cooper, next to speak is Andy Heller of 54 Clair Drive.
Good evening, Council. Is the audio working?
Yep, I can hear you fine.
Wonderful. I have been a resident for just about 24 years, and this is perhaps my second time addressing the council. And if I'm not mistaken, the first time was about a trash issue. So, you know, I guess I have just a couple of questions and maybe a point. The majority of the blame for this whole bulk item issue at $29, at least in the press and in the stories that we read, was placed on abuse of the system by out-of-town residents. We heard that, you know, people were coming into Attleboro and taking advantage of the system, leaving couches out in front of Attleboro streets. I would like to know what evidence there was of that actually occurring. Were these people approached and fined, as probably should have happened? And why does it seem that Attleboro residents are the ones who are now going to pay the price for this and be punished for these actions, if indeed it was the case that out-of-towners were abusing our system? I have another, you know, question or point after that, but hoping somebody could address that.
So what I would say, Andy, is that there was a myriad of fines that Alan Perry mentioned. It was a low number, but there were fines issued for, as I said, a myriad of. So really, we want to understand, you know, what the council wants to get from you is, we know you're opposed, but tell us why. We're sort of getting a lot of questions on if a biff or what about, how come, why didn't. What I really want to hear is why you're opposed. And I think I heard it in what you said. You don't think Attleboro people should be punished if in fact it's as a result of
well, that was
people
the whole,
outside of Attleboro not following the rules, right?
Right. Well, that was the whole impetus for the $29 implementation of the you know, the new bulk item. You know, people kind of viewed that as you know, I considered it a privilege to be able to, you know, if I wanted to redecorate my house and I had that old love seat to leave it by the curb, you know, that was part of the you know, the benefit of being part of the Attleboro trash system. You know, now, you know, we're put into the category with you know, the other towns who maybe had some of these fees all along. And if it really was caused by abuse like that, I think, you know, maybe more of an effort should have been made to curb that abuse before we had to be the ones paying the $29. And of course, I'm concerned, as some of the other you know, callers, the speakers were, about some of the potential for illegal dumping because of that $29 fee. You know, people, I think, want to do the right thing and keep their properties clean. This is going to make it more difficult, and you know, definitely a concern of mine.
Thank you. I think I heard you say you had two, so tell me number two.
Just as far as the general the renegotiation process on this, it just seems to many, you know, and I speak to a lot of people, it seems that this whole negotiation process was a little bit one-sided. You know, when you're only dealing with the one vendor, you just, I don't think, dealing from a position of strength as a city when you don't have that backup plan, and Waste Management seems to be the one making all the rules and telling us how it has to be and fining us if the lid isn't closed. You know, in other words, was there really a line that the city of Attleboro could draw in the sand that Waste Management couldn't cross because they knew there was no backup? So they ran with their rules, and I felt the city had no choice but to accept them. And you know, as a result, I'm just not sure that the residents are getting the best deal possible.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Heller? Andy, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Okay, President Cooper, Joseph Caponegro has had his hand up to speak. I do not have his address, but I have enabled his microphone.
Yes,
Okay.
this is Joe Capnegro, 903 Pike Avenue. I'm sorry, I tried responding to the text that was sent out a couple times, but it just wouldn't go through properly. So I just kept my hand up. Can you hear me, President Cooper?
I can. We can hear you fine, Joe. Thanks.
I've got three areas that I disagree with the ordinance coming forward. First, I think the fines are excessive compared to what they are now. And I haven't heard any testimony or any reason why to raise them so much. Basically, what would be happening, as Agent Perry said, the health agent Perry said, there was about $4,500 collected last year. If the fines go up just with simple math, and I'm certain it would end up even more, you'd be collecting over $18,000 based on the same amount of fines. Why the increase in the fines? It just seems like the city's just looking to get money wherever they can. It just, I don't think it's fair. And even with the proposal or with the current, and I know, again, health agent Perry said that they do give warnings. There is no place in the proposal or as written that warnings can be given. And I think that at a minimum should be put in there, that a certain, warning system, or at least one warning. But with the fines too, I'm concerned that it could get taken out of hand, so that a person that's throwing 2 cans inadvertently into trash, trash instead of recycle, all of a sudden this fines could get out of hand, and especially with the value of the fines that they're proposing. And if it is adopted, or something's adopted, that at some point they can be asked to leave the system, I think there should also be something, therefore, in the ordinance also on how somebody can get reinstated into the system. Because obviously people can make mistakes, and if it's habitual, it can make mistakes, but even a person should have some ability to go back into the system. The other thing to do with the fines, and it reads specifically about removal from the system. It says may require removal from city services as determined upon after hearing before the city health officer. I'm all too knowledgeable about having a hearing before one person being the prosecutor, judge, and jury. And so I don't think if this is instituted, that there is some sort of hearing to remove a person from the system, it should be before a group or some board, not just one person, as happened to me in my volunteerism with the city. The second point I would like to bring out is the curbside pickup hours of not being able to put anything out before 5 p.m. the day before, I think is just too restrictive. Especially if I'm just considering people who work the second shift, for instance, that have to leave at 2 o'clock to get to a 3:30 start. Are they expected to come home at midnight and be putting trash out? I think that 5 p.m. should be changed to noontime or 1 o'clock. I know myself, even sometimes if it's expecting heavy rain or heavy snow and it's coming in, I want to get it out there before the heavy rain or heavy snow comes. So I think that should be changed to some area. And the noontime or 1 o'clock, I've never had a neighbor complain, or I've never complained that I see a recycle bin out earlier in the day, and it would help those that have to work the second shift. The only other thing I want to mention was in the area of recycling down to the Pond Street facility, where it says if you're part of the program, which as far as most Attleboro residents would be, that you may be able to get a sticker for free, and it says the sticker shall only be placed on the resident's personal vehicle. That creates a little problem for us, people such as myself. I have a pickup truck that's actually registered under my corporate name of Joe Capnegro Inc. My wife isn't going to be happy if I start putting cardboard in the back of her car or grass clippings or something like that. So there should be something to address that. If you are a resident of the city of Attleboro and on the trash program, that a company vehicle such as that we use all the time for our personal use also should be allowed to get that same sticker. I've, over the years, received that sticker numerous times, as far as every year, even it's recorded in my name, and also what would be important maybe to look into along that lines is make sure that the vehicle is registered to an address in Attleboro would also help that. And those are the three, as far as items that I was concerned with, that I think should be looked at.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Caponegro at this time? Joe, thank you for joining this evening, and thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, President Cooper and members of the council.
Thank you.
Okay, President Cooper, at this time, all of the attendees who have requested to speak and or have raised their hand have been called upon.
Great, thank you. So there is no additional, there is no one else to speak, neither for nor against. Councillor Holmes, I was also planning to keep this public hearing open until at least Thursday, so we could get answers to these questions, and then you can have a follow-up committee meeting to discuss any of the outstanding matters. But if we continue to 7:23, we can continue to receive input from the public. If there's additional people that joined or are hearing about it, they can submit testimony to us. So that, I did say the right date, right? July 23rd. Yeah. So that public hearing will remain open until July 23rd.
President Cooper, we do have a late entry to the public hearing.
Okay.
A Paul Princito, I'm sorry, I can't, it sounds like, it looks like Princito, 25 Alfred Street.
Okay. And Mr. Princito, you speaking in opposition or neither for nor against?
Just opposition. It's Princiato, so I know it's tricky if you don't see it phonetically. I have 3 young children, and we're constantly using the bulk item feature, and especially now that we're all home because of COVID. It's really concerning to me of the fee of $29. It's making me very nervous because I'm not really sure what to do, because you can imagine with 3 young children, there's a tremendous amount of stuff we have to throw away, especially as the kids get older. You're throwing away high chairs, you're throwing away changing tables and toys and parts of cribs and so on and so forth. And we've been very lucky to be able to do the 1 bulk item per week. So the thought of a $29 charge 2 times a month or even 3 times a month is very concerning. And I just, I'm still lucky enough to, my wife and I both have our jobs, and I know not everybody's in that same boat. So I just want to express my significant concern about the fees that they're going to rack up. And thinking of others, it's odd that you're going to tell an elderly resident that it's going to cost them more to throw a broom away than it would be to buy a new broom. And I think, however this $29 fee was created, I'm very concerned because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And I just wanted to make sure you heard from a perspective of someone with many children.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Princiato at this time? Paul, thank you for your testimony tonight.
Thank you.
And going once, going twice, going 3 times. If you want to address the council at this time, now's the time to do it.
Okay, President Cooper, all of the attendees who have already addressed the council have addressed the council.
All right. Thank you. We are going to continue that public hearing until July 23rd. So we can continue to get testimony in writing and give people the opportunity to provide testimony on the 23rd. So I believe at this time, let me just write this down for my At this time, I'd entertain a motion to recess so that we can go into committee.
Second.
Thank you. This will require a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kobus,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are recessed at 8:35. There are just a few items in the committees. Let me just get to that.
It's pretty much just Mr. Waterman, actually.
It is just Mr. Waterman. I just got to find. Okay.
Because Mr. Delicio's doing his on Thursday.
Yep.
All right.
But we still need to have everybody cancel their meetings, correct? Like, we have to go through the whole roll call thing.
Yep.
Council Blair.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes.
Thank
And Todd has the public hearing thing,
Yes.
Steve.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. So
Public safety emergency management's canceled this evening.
President Cooper, I'm going to cancel traffic and transportation for this evening, but one quick update. The Traffic Study Commission met last night. We have new officers, Paulo Salguero is the chair, and Scott Horan is now the secretary. So we're back in business.
great. Thank you for that update.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I'd like to cancel the Rules and Procedures Committee meeting this evening, but I'd like to ask you to please send a note to the C solicitor. I see in her invoice that she's reviewed the rules and procedures, and with our assistant out, I'm afraid that is languishing in the system. Perhaps you would ask her to email that to our city clerk, who can distribute it to councilors. And also, I would like to cancel.
So hold on,
Yes,
Rick. I'll give you permission to reach out to the city solicitor, and you
Thank
can
you.
CC me on that request.
Thank you. I
And
will
then
do that.
you can distribute, because without an admin, that's one thing I'm not.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No problem.
I'd also like to cancel the Capital Improvements and City Development Committee meeting this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
And I would like to call the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee to order at 8:38, I think. And we have two motions this evening. The first motion from the docket of July 21st, 2020. I move to approve the Community Development Block Grant of approximately $12,000 for the Recreation Department Youth Center Program for fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, no, Council Jackson, you're not on that committee. It's Reynolds or Blair.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I thought it was a motion. I apologize. I retract.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let me just say that this is a normal grant that comes through pretty much every year. And in talking to the staff down at the rec department, they kind of count on it, and we've got it. And it helps pay part of the salary of some of the part-time people that help out, especially in the summer. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The vote passes 3-0. And also from the docket of July 21st, 2020, I move to approve the Community Development Block Grant of approximately $12,652.00 for the Council on Aging to fund the Outreach Shine Counselor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Before we have a vote, just wanted to say a little bit about this position. The outreach, these are senior citizens that we're trying to make the outreach for. And the senior center is calling every day, dozens and dozens of people that are in positions of some difficulty. And we're keeping track of how they're doing, especially this time of coronavirus. But we do this anyhow, even if there wasn't a pandemic going on. Also, clients are assisted through this position for the Shine Counselor to apply for Medicare Part B, Part D, and supplemental insurances that might be equal or even better than the employee insurance that they previously had before they might have retired. They're also given coupons for the farmers market. They're assisted in applying for food stamp applications and provide heating for low-income seniors. And what I have here is, with the fiscal crisis in the Commonwealth, state agencies and Mass Health are enforcing annual reviews to ensure that disabled adults remain within the asset and income guidelines of the programs that benefit them. These appointments take from 1 to 3 hours frequently, depending on the needs of the client. And then there are also follow-up calls, and each client, there's a lot of paperwork that goes along with it. So all this for $12,652. How's that?
So thank you for, oh, sorry, I gotta,
that's
not
fine.
running the show.
Yes, please stop.
Thank you. So thank you for the background on that. I think we all have been around long enough. We got a pretty good idea of the role of the Shine Counselor, but I don't want to be, your last comment threw me a little bit. It's not just all that for $12,653. The city funds what is the salary for that position, right? So I don't want anybody to think that person gets paid $12,653 and does all that work, because that's not fact. The fact of the matter is the city funds the remaining piece of the salary for the Shine Counselor, and they do magnificent work.
Thank you.
And that concludes my comment.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? So we can vote now. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Hearing none, the vote passes 3-0. And I would, that would conclude the business, but let's call all, do we have a motion? I have a motion for an adjournment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And that concludes the business of the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee.
You didn't.
I'm sorry?
Second, but you didn't vote on adjourning.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. That concludes the business of the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee. We'll meet at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
President Cooper?
Yep. Steve, were you asking me a question? You froze. I think you.
It's me. Let's just go with me. Public Works.
Okay.
All right. Public Works has no business this evening, but would like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time on Thursday. But before I ask, well, I don't even have to ask for an adjournment. I just want to say I'm really happy with what's going on in the city of Adamo with Public Works. They're like working on a lot of streets and they're looking really great. And I was reading the mayor's communication this evening, and we have some stuff coming down and stuff is going to happen. Our roads are going to just get better and better and better because Attleboro is really good at keeping their roads clean. Cool. So with that, I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time on Thursday.
Thank you.
All right. So budget and appropriations is canceled for tonight. And I'd like to call the Zoning and Land Use Committee to order. at 8:45. We have one item to address tonight. So I move to call for a public hearing regarding the removal of section 17-13.0 Water Resources Protection District. Diana?
Someone who's on his committee. Come on.
Second? All right. Motion's in order. So this is some new business, and this is just calling for the public hearing. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And President Cooper, can we schedule a date? And August 18th would work for me, if that's okay.
Yeah, at this time, I think that date will work. It's just we've got to do the appropriate advertising and what is there I guess we can talk. So I guess my question that just came to my brain was, do we have, as a council or as a committee, does your committee have any recommendations on what to do here? Because I feel like we're not proposing any change other than to modify or remove, but what might we modify or remove? Are we talking about the whole thing, or so I guess that's my concern, is the council doesn't necessarily have anything to contemplate other than reviewing the section. So do we want to discuss?
There's two of these water resource protection districts.
Familiar with it. About that much of my property's in it.
Okay. And so my suggestion is to either remove all of it or remove one or the other. And I think we can, if we have the public hearing to talk about removing it, if we then move to amend it to say only remove the Bungie one or whatever, I think that's well within the realm.
And then the other, my other follow-up question, Todd, would be just to make sure, if we haven't, that Gary and team are available, and Nick and Gary are available on that 18th. And if not, let us know, and then we have Thursday, we can change the date. That was the only other thing that just came to my mind.
Perfect. Will do.
All right. Thanks.
And I think Councilor Reynolds had a hand up. Oh, and so I can recognize you, Councilor Reynolds.
Todd, I just wanted to say that I had brought this business in, and I had a lengthy conversation with Gary about this too, along with Todd, and which is why we had decided we'd separate them when it comes up. The public hearing will bring out additional reasons. I don't have it right in front of me. I thought I had given that everybody had a copy of what I had originally proposed and wanted. I think that if we look back far enough, because it all happened prior to COVID, and then it kind of took a back seat, but there are some extenuating circumstances, and I think it would be worthwhile when we look at this that we actually understand why I put the request in. Okay, so that during when we have after the public hearing. Thank you.
All right. So that concludes the business for the Zoning and Land Use Committee. Move to adjourn.
Did you vote?
Okay.
Yes, we voted. Yes.
Okay. I didn't write that down. Sorry.
Yep. Motion seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Yeah. Aye. Sorry, Todd, about that, but I was spaced out. Sorry about that.
No problem. We are adjourned at 8:49.
Licenses committee is canceled tonight.
City property and claims is canceled this evening.
Ordinance, elections, and legislative matters committees also canceled this evening.
Thank you.
President Cooper, can I ask Mr. Conti a question?
Of course.
Richard, is it your intent that your public hearing for tonight's continued to Thursday? Is it your intention to vote that out of committee on Thursday and vote it before the full council on Thursday, or are you going to vote it next month? Just so I can do the motions.
It was my intention to vote it out on Thursday night.
Okay. I'll prepare the motion then for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Steve, anything else on those, just so that you have what you need to do the motions for Thursday night?
I think I'm good. I mean, we still have to do the mayor's communication, but I think I'm good right now.
All right, so it'll be just to the council before we move on, or before we go back to the full council meeting. It'll be important to just make sure that we're all on top of our emails, because there'll be lots of rapid fire questions without Virginia here to field them. So if you have questions, just CC Steve and myself on them, and we can try to get it sorted out for you. And Kate, include Kate in any of those too, so that we can try to get them sorted out.
Thank you, President Cooper. I think, yes, please. If any of you have any motions that you want to get out, just make sure Steve knows, because he's doing everything for Virginia. And thank you, Steve, ever so much for covering for her. We all appreciate it.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yes, we do.
It's been so fun.
I bet.
Good though. Thank you.
And just again, before we go back to the full council, I do have, and we'll put in your, Dr. Quinn dropped it off to me, copies for everybody on trash and recycling tonnage back to fiscal year 12. So you will all have that as well. I'll put that in your box. All right. At this time, I will call the council back to order at 8:51.
Second.
And we will go right to the mayor's communication.
July 21st, 2020. Dear municipal councilors, I respectfully submit a communication from Library Director Christine Johnson regarding a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts to the City of Attleboro for the community-wide Big Read program of approximately $15,000. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to approve the expenditure of such funds and any other further grant amendments received by the Attleboro Public Library to support the Big Read activities as authorized by the granting authority. Details of the program will be announced to the public in September. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee, please.
All right. I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Ashley Stewart, 55 4th Street, Attleboro, to the Council on Human Rights. Term to expire February 2022. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully.
Oh, boy.
We lost you, Steve.
What happens to him?
I don't know. All right, so I'm going to pick up at number 3.
Okay.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding a vehicle that the Department of Public Works would like to declare as surplus for trade and value. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packet. It is a 1993 Ford F800 in very poor condition, and that's City Property and Claims Committee.
All right. I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary. Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Allison Wood regarding a vehicle that the police department would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies of your packets. It's a 2011 Ford Crown Vic, 92,651 miles in poor condition.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Gail Clark of 41 Hazelwood Drive, Attleboro, to fill an unexpired term on the Municipal Building Commission, term to expire February 2022. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Mac Borgelis of 6 Marjorie Street, Attleboro, to the Council on Human Rights, term to expire February 2023. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Shannon Benet of 14 Holden Street, Attleboro, to the Planning Board, term to expire February 2022. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Health Agent Alan Perry regarding the receipt of a Sustainable Materials Recovery Program grant from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. The amount of the grant is approximately $300,000 as pay-as-you-throw program funds to go towards the purchase of the automated 35-gallon rubbish carts. These funds must be used no later than July 1st, 2022. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to approve expending such funds in any future grant amendments. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Attleboro Public Schools Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, regarding a 10-year lease agreement with Bristol County Savings Bank for the operation of a bank branch in the new high school. Under Section 5.8 of the city ordinance, any lease or lease purchase agreement binding the city beyond the fiscal year in which it is agreed to must have the approval of the mayor and municipal council. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to approve this 10-year lease. Copies in your packets.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Budget and Administration, Jeremy Stull, regarding approval to waive permitting and inspection fees associated with the Attleboro Public Library renovation.
So I'm going to pick up where Steve left off.
Yes,
Renovation
please.
Project. In
Please.
accordance with Section 3-8.3 of the revised ordinance, this request is to waive all fees that are paid entirely to the city and to waive the city portion of other associated fees that are split between the city and professional performing the inspection. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body waive the following, and I'm going to waive the reading of the remainder of that, and that's going to the Budget Committee.
Okay. I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Michael Davis, 99 Thayer Farm Road, to the Planning Board. Term to expire February 2025. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully
Great
What was that? Well, I respectfully submit a communication from Water Superintendent Courtney Wunschel regarding a need for funds for the fiscal year 21 insurance premium endorsements and claims. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $5,937 from account Water Enterprise Fund Reserve Fund for transfer to the following: $4,937 to account Water Enterprise Fund Insurance, $1,000 to account Water Enterprise Fund Claims. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
And I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Public Works, Michael Tyler, regarding a donation of $218,154 from Columbia Gas. This donation from Columbia Gas will allow the city to complete the paving on Thatcher Street, County Street, Horton Street, Forest Street, and also for the repair/maintenance of various roadways and sidewalks throughout the city, which have fallen into despair. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to approve expending this generous donation to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
Sincerely, Paul Hero, Mayor.
Thank you. And moving on to other communications.
Yeah, we have a few. The first one is a certificate of vote in the affirmative to recommend $526,000 for gymnasium floors is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, please.
We received a letter from Gary Arazian, Director of Planning and Development, and Nick Wiley, Environmental Planner/Conservation Agent, regarding MPDES2, Illicit Discharge Detection and Elimination Program, IDDE.
Zoning and Land Use Committee, please.
And we received a letter from Dr. Ruth DeBrot and Ms. Antoinette Hughes urging the reallocation of funds at the federal, state, and local level.
I'm going to refer that as copies to all counselors and refer those to the administration.
And that is all.
Thank you. And we will move right along to committee reports and begin with Councilor Blair. You're muted, Pete.
Flipping, getting late. I'm tired. We have nothing to bring forward tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor DeSimone.
President Cooper, we have nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Capital Improvement and City Development Committee has no business to bring before the council this evening. We look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Waterman.
Yes, from the docket of June 23rd, 2020, I would like to make a motion. It's not worded as a motion here, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Read it the same. Yeah.
I move to approve the community development block grant of approximately $12,000 for the Recreation Department Youth Center program for fiscal year 2021.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order, is in order. Any additional questions or comments, Councilor Waterman?
No, none at this time.
Great. Roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Vice President Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
President Cooper,
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And also from the docket of July 21st, 2020, I move to approve the community development block grant of approximately $12,652 for the Council on Aging to fund the Outreach Shine Counselor.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments?
I believe we already know what it's for, I think. None.
Thank you. A roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Vice President Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
President Cooper,
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. Mr. Waterman.
Yes, and that concludes the business of the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee. And we'll call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Vice President Jackson.
Thank you, President Cooper. I have no business this evening reporting from Public Works Committee, but I would like to call for appropriate meeting at the appropriate time next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cobus.
Budget and Appropriations doesn't have any business tonight, but we call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time. And Zoning and Land Use does not have any business tonight, and we call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Dolan.
License Committee is canceled this evening, and I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time, please.
Great. Thank you. Councilor, I have to look at the seat. Reynolds.
City Property and Claims Committee is canceled this evening, but I would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time. Not canceled, doesn't have any business this evening.
Thank you. And last but not least, Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. So Councilor Cobus, we don't have to vote for the whole, in front of the whole council to have the public hearing now? It's just, oh, okay. Sorry about that. So there's no business this evening for Ordinance Election Legislative Matter Committee, but I might have some business on Thursday, and a committee meeting on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. At this time, I would entertain a
No new business.
No new business.
No, I got to do committee of the whole first, right?
Sure.
Because it's not a special meeting.
It's a
where we
regular
can
meeting,
suspend the
so.
rules. Yep.
Yep.
So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into committee of the whole. Thank you. I saw Council Jackson words second, but
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Mr. Jones, is there anybody on that would like to address the council at this time on any? Oh, actually, I got to vote first. I'm sorry. It's getting late. You're right, Peter. All those, and I have to do a roll call vote. Roll call vote will begin with Councilor Holmes on going into committee of the whole.
Okay. Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Vice President Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
President Cooper,
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are in committee of the whole, and if there is anyone, Jim Jones can add them in as to allow them to address the council on any matter of city business. We'll just give them a minute to do that. And I don't see anything, and I don't hear Jim. So I would.
I received no response.
Great, thank you. I would entertain a motion to arise.
Excuse me, President Cooper?
Yes.
I did have something in my box about a new business. Did you have
Yep,
that?
so I do.
Oh, we're
That's
not
next.
skipping that?
No, we're going there next.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to arise from committee of the whole.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. We'll have a roll call vote beginning with Counselor Holmes, I think. Oh, Blair.
Mr.
There it
Blair.
is.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Vice President Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Kovas,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are, there is no old business. There is one item of new business, and it's, I guess I'll recognize Counselor Reynolds or Dolan. I know you're both bringing it in together. Looks like Counselor Reynolds.
I'll read it in for us.
Okay, thank you.
To refer to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation to review allowed on-street parking, so the parking that's already there on Scott Street, southerly side from Route 1, specifically as it pertains to the curve and sloping in this area from Route 1 to pole number 2321 or 23 Scott Street. There have been numerous complaints in the area regarding safety. This is something that I've had
So hold on one second. Do we have a second?
One second.
Second.
We have thank you. So motion's in order. Counselor Reynolds.
So I've had ongoing conversations for probably 6 months from the residents over there. And I did get Counselor Dolan involved because it involves parking by employees of the car dealership right over there. So we've had a lot of serious issues. It curves, it goes down, and then there's a decline in the street. So when they're parked on the side, Counselor Dolan and I have been down there several times. It's loaded with cars on that curb, all people that work at the, I think Counselor Dolan will also tell you that she's had multiple conversations with the owner of the dealership or the management over there as well. So the neighbors have been very patient. We've had a lot going on with not being able to handle it because the traffic and transportation, not committee, the traffic and transportation, help me out here, my brain is.
Traffic Study Commission.
Thank you. Has not been in service through no fault of ours, personally as a council. So we are now at the point where they're back in business.
That was a good one.
I'm just going to also suggest to Councilor DeSimone that I am going to have many more coming your way because they've been holding off, or I've been holding off putting in new business because we just didn't have the study commission. So in any event, that is the issue, that is the problem, and Councilor Dolan might have some things to add.
Thank you. Counselor Dolan.
Thank you. So yeah, me and Counselor Reynolds were up there for a little while last week sometime. And it looks like, it literally looks like the people at Scott Street, number 23, have to put cinder blocks. And I know this because I still have the scars on my shin from like almost killing myself on them. But anyway, it looks like they put cinder blocks like right at the edge of their property so people don't park in front of their mailbox. Because if there's a car in front of your mailbox, they won't deliver your mail. So there's parking all the way from where it's allowed, the 100 feet from Route 1. That's where it's allowed right now, southerly, which is the side of the car dealership. And while Counselor Reynolds and I were there, traffic was going both ways, but they couldn't fit. Somebody had to pull over, like literally almost in someone else's driveway to let the oncoming traffic go through. So, we were only there for 10, 15 minutes and it looked like a disaster. And then when we finally were saying goodbye and whatever, because we had no place to park when we went to meet. And then we see like all the employees coming out from the car dealership and driving away and they're on street parking. So, I mean, it's on a curve, it's up a hill, there just shouldn't be parking there at all. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Fine, seeing none, so we have to do a roll call vote.
Mm-hmm.
So it's seconded by Councilor Dolan, and we need a roll call vote to
It's going to Transportation Traffic, correct?
Transportation Traffic Committee, but we need to vote first.
Yep. All right. Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Vice President Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
President Cooper,
Yes.
10 yeas, no nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. I'm going to refer that matter to the Transportation and Traffic Committee. And Councilor DeSimone, would you like to refer that to the Traffic Study Commission?
Yes, please.
Steve, do we have to vote that?
We do have to vote that also, yeah.
Okay, so that will require a roll call vote to refer to Traffic Study, beginning with Council Blair.
Yes.
Start the vote again, Steve, because I don't think anybody got it.
Yeah, I don't hear him. I don't hear him.
Hang on a second.
Better handle the vote. Cool.
All right. Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Vice President Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Cobus,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
President Cooper,
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. So before we adjourn, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to Jim Jones for helping us get through what has been to date the most popularly attended public hearing, and it went pretty smoothly, I think, from at least from my perspective. And so thank you to Jim Jones for helping us get through that and ensuring that the public can and will provide testimony to these important issues as they come up in the city. So again, Jim, thanks for doing that. And it was a good night. Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, President Cooper. And I'd also like to acknowledge Steve Withers. Like, thank you for helping us, because we know V has been out and she's going to be out for a few more weeks, just so everybody, I don't know if everybody knows that on the council, but she's out for a few more weeks. And Steve, like, yeah, he's been taking good care of us, all of us.
Gary has.
7 of us, and that's not his job. So thank you very, very much, Steve. And I know you just had like a little injury too this past weekend. He fell and hurt his hip. So thank you ever so much, because you made us look good. You made us we had everything we needed this evening prepared and before us, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Yep, thank you. That's very appropriate comments, Councilor Jackson. I appreciate all of Steve's work. And with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We require a roll call vote, and we'll begin with whoever's next.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are adjourned at 9:13.
See you all Thursday.
Thank you. See you Thursday.
Coop, on a personal shit.